to the art of war. As I promised a long time ago, here it is my reaction to Napoleon's Marshals Part 2. I'll try to put this all into one part. Maybe we will have to do two parts of the episode 2 of Napoleon's Marshals because I give you a lot of extra information that other channels don't give you. But the first part, I hope it will be a bit bigger than the second. So, yeah, 1 second. Let's start the video. But before we do that, subscribe and like. Comment your suggestions down below and check the links in the description to amazing history and military books. Let's begin.
Terror belli, decus pacis. Terror in war.
Ornament in peace. I have already got this one. I remind me of this one. Terror in peace. Terror in war. Ornament in peace.
Ornament in peace. The words inscribed on every French marshal's baton. In France, the title of Marshal or Maréchal goes back at least to the 13th century. It represents the highest possible position of military authority symbolized by a marshal's baton. The title was abolished during the French Revolution as incompatible with the egalitarian spirit
This is the same introduction of the part 1.
of the age. But in 1804, Napoleon founded a new empire and restored the ancient rank. This is Epic History TV's guide to Napoleon's Marshals. All 26 have been ranked according to our own evaluation of their achievements as marshals, with expert guidance from retired Lieutenant Colonel Remy Porte, former chief historian of the French Army.
So, about the ranks of the marshals. I guessed many of the less marshals, but that's a bit easier because they are the worst. I mean, not the worst. I mean, someone were real good, but not the best. But so that's a bit easy. Now in the middle, it gets a little bit more troublesome. I guess in the middle there will be like Marshal Mortier, maybe Marshal McDonald's because they weren't in the other one. Yeah, I think those two will be on this episode, but it will also help see what's the first they give, and then I will, around my knowledge about that first marshal that they will name, I will tell what I think the others will be. But yeah, just like that, I think Mortier, McDonald, maybe Victor, Victor, yeah, maybe Victor and Mortier and McDonald. I think those three might be in this episode. But let's start. Let's continue.
So far, we've met Marshals Perignon, Brune, Serrurier, Kellerman, Grouchy, Moncey, Poniatowski, and Jourdan.
I guess that Serrurier would be. I guess that Grouchy would be on these ones. I guess Moncey. And I guess Jordan. I actually thought that Poniatowski would be higher in the list, but no.
Before we begin, a big thanks to our video sponsor, Displate. For those who don't know, Displate make exceptional...
Oh, in case you don't know, I bought a display. It's a Napoleon display. It's Napoleon crossing the... Bernadotte is one of the worst. What? Bernadotte is one of the best. I mean, he wasn't really fond of Napoleon. That's why he then went to King of Sweden and then faced against Napoleon, commanding the Army of the North in 1813. But, I mean, he cannot be that low ranked. He commanded like a corps during a lot of Napoleon's Napoleon's campaigns. I can't believe that.
Slate for sponsoring this video. '18. Marshal Bernadotte.
I can only say that Bernadotte let me down. I can accuse him of ingratitude, but not of treason. Yeah, I knew that this thing because I know that Napoleon did not accuse him of ingratitude and not of treason because he knew that like Bernadotte, he was now king of Sweden, so he was now his main interest was the position of Sweden in the world, and his main compromise was to Sweden. So he did not think that Bernadotte against Napoleon was treason. And Bernadotte had a lot of reason to be against Napoleon and not invade Russia during Napoleon's campaign of Russia, because Napoleon seized the Swedish Pomerania and didn't promise Finland back to the Swedes. I think that Napoleon should have promised Finland to the Swedes, and they would have helped immensely in the campaign attacking from the north.
Bernadotte enlisted in the
Bernadotte, other thing that he had against Napoleon was that Bernadotte married a former kind of lover of Napoleon called Désirée.
French Royal Army aged 17 and proved a model soldier, rising to become the senior non-commissioned officer in his regiment in just 10 years. The French Revolution and active service opened the door to rapid promotion. He was made an officer, and thanks to exemplary leadership and courage, rose in rank from captain to general of division in a single year. Not even Napoleon rose through the ranks as quickly. He particularly distinguished himself at Fleurus, leading an attack that helped secure Jourdan's famous victory.
Yeah, Jourdan. I think it's the victory where he used hot air balloons.
As a
We talked about that in the last episode.
Professional soldier and ex-sergeant major, Bernadotte insisted on the highest standards of discipline and conduct from his men. He even fought a duel with his own chief of staff, whom he accused of taking a bribe. In 1797, Bernadotte was transferred to Italy, where he served under Napoleon's command for the first time. By this stage, both men had brilliant reputations, but despite a good first meeting, a clash of styles and jealous rivalry soon emerged between them. What's more, Bernadotte had immediately got on the wrong side of the future Marshal Berthier, Napoleon's chief of staff, by arresting one of his...
He got on the wrong side of Berthier. In case you don't know, Berthier was thrown off a window. I think yes, Berthier will be also in this part. Berthier will also be in this part. Yeah, Berthier got thrown off, got defenestrated, but it wasn't in Prague. It was in Paris. Berthier got defenestrated out of a window when Napoleon came back to power in the 100 Days War. And yes, I will do the reaction to another video about that, but many think that Napoleon might have lost the Waterloo campaign because Soult was his chief of staff and not Berthier. But we will talk about that in another video. Let's continue. We have a lot to see and to watch.
Friends for insubordination. In 1798, Bernadotte married
I told you.
Napoleon's ex-fiancée, Désirée.
I didn't know she was his ex-fiancée. I only knew that they were like kind of lovers. I didn't know she was his ex-fiancée.
Clary. Her sister Julie was married to Napoleon's brother, Joseph, meaning Bernadotte was now family. But when Napoleon asked Bernadotte to support his coup of 18 Brumaire, he refused, though he did not actively oppose it. Napoleon...
But Bernadotte didn't like Napoleon being emperor. I know that. Oops. I know that Bernadotte didn't like Napoleon being emperor.
Support his coup of 18 Brumaire, he refused, though he did not actively oppose it. Napoleon suspected Bernadotte of conspiring against him, but the Clary sisters helped to keep the peace. Throughout this period, Bernadotte held key posts as Minister of War in 1799, Commander of the Army of the West in 1800, and Governor of Hanover in 1804, proving highly effective in each role. That year, Napoleon made Bernadotte a Marshal, and he commanded First Corps at the Battle of Austerlitz.
I told you, he was a good commander. He did a great job in this battle, I know that, and he also commanded in other battles. I think he commanded at Jena also. Oh no, at Jena was the contrary. At Jena, he was a total failure. Um, he needed to support Davout, but then he failed to support Davout, and he almost was court-martialed, almost. But he wasn't court-martialed because Davout won the battle, but Napoleon was furious with him, and then he didn't take part on the Battle of Eylau because he was seriously injured. And Victor, which other marshal that I thought we will see in this episode, Victor was in his place.
Playing a relatively minor part in the Emperor's great victory. Nevertheless, he was rewarded with the title Prince of Pontecorvo. But his relationship with Napoleon remained difficult. In 1806, as Napoleon took on Prussia, Bernadotte was blamed for failing to support Marshal Davout at the Battle of Auerstedt, and was nearly court-martialed.
And he also failed later at Wagram with his Saxon Corps.
Though Bernadotte partly redeemed himself with a vigorous pursuit of the beaten Prussians. The next year, he missed the Battle of Auerstedt and was nearly court-martialed. Though Bernadotte partly redeemed himself with a vigorous pursuit of the beaten Prussians. The next year, he missed the Battle of Eylau after his orders were intercepted by the Russians, and a gunshot wound to the neck meant he also missed the Battle of Friedland.
Okay, yeah. Eylau, it was because his message was intercepted, and Friedland, it was because he was injured. Sorry, guys, for confusing. I have a lot of history in my head. Sorry. But yeah, I knew it was he didn't take part in any of these ones. I just confused why he didn't take part.
Command of First Corps passing to General Victor. When war resumed...
Oh, Victor was just a general. No, but later Victor was a marshal. I think he was, yeah. Later Victor was a marshal.
With Austria in 1809, Bernadotte was given command of the 9th Saxon Corps. On the evening of the first day at the gigantic Battle of Wagram, his troops were in heavy fighting with the Austrians. But dressed in white, like the Austrians, they came under devastating friendly fire, panicked and routed. The next morning, Bernadotte pulled his men back without orders, but when they later retreated again, he and the Emperor exchanged sharp words on the battlefield. Bernadotte then issued a proclamation to the Saxons praising their conduct and outraging Napoleon.
Praising their conduct, Napoleon must have been furious when he praised their conduct.
Bernadotte.
Let's read his letter. Saxons, on the day 5th of July, 7,000 to 8,000 of you had pierced the center of the enemy army and moved to Wagram in spite of the efforts of 40,000 men supported by 50 cannons. Oh, against them. See. You fought until midnight, and what is that letter? Live waked in the middle of the Austrian lines. On the 6th, at the break of day, you restarted the fight with the same perseverance and in the middle of the ravages of the enemy artillery. Your living columns had remained motionless as grass. The great Napoleon has seen your dedication. He counts on you as among his brave men. Saxons, the fortune of a soldier is to fulfill his duties. You have worthily made yours. Signed Bernadotte, Marshal of the Empire, commanding the Ninth Corps.
And outraging Napoleon. Bernadotte was sent in semi-disgrace to the Dutch coast to
he was disgraced, yeah. And he was sent to fight Britain. No one wants to fight Britain in the damn slopes of the Netherlands.
Defeat of a major British landing at Walcheren. But another triumphant
you see how equal is the name? Wagram, Walcheren.
Proclamation, effectively publicizing the strength of his forces, further infuriated Napoleon.
What?
Grace to the Dutch coast to oversee the defeat of a major British landing at Walcheren. But another triumphant proclamation, effectively publicizing the strength of his forces, further infuriated Napoleon. In an unlikely twist of fate in 1810, Swedish politicians invited Bernadotte to become Crown Prince of Sweden. The current king was old and childless, and Bernadotte was a proven general and administrator, member of the French imperial family, and well regarded by Swedish army officers who remembered his
member of the French royal family for now, because then Napoleon was, you know what happened to him, he was exiled.
Fair treatment of Swedish prisoners, general and administrator,
he did a fair treatment,
member of the French imperial family, and well regarded by Swedish army officers who remembered his fair treatment of Swedish prisoners 3 years earlier in Pomerania. Napoleon was at first bemused, remarking that he could think of other marshals who were better qualified, but he did give his assent.
Bernadotte must have been furious with Napoleon.
Even when Bernadotte made it clear that as Crown Prince he would pursue Swedish interests.
I told you, he told Napoleon he would pursue Swedish interests. Oh, and in case you don't know, the Bernadotte dynasty is still on the throne of Sweden. The Bernadotte family still reigns Sweden.
He was true to his word. 3 years later, with Napoleon on the ropes after his disastrous invasion of Russia, Crown Prince Bernadotte brought Sweden into the Sixth Coalition and declared war on France. With his insider knowledge, he helped the Allies to devise the Trachenberg Plan, a strategy for defeating Napoleon in Germany by avoiding battle with Napoleon himself and targeting only his marshals. In September, Bernadotte defeated former comrades Marshals Augereau and Ney.
Augereau and Ney were almost getting inside Berlin. If it wasn't for Bernadotte, they would have conquered Berlin. Bernadotte stopped them near Berlin at Dünwitz.
At Dennewitz. 5 weeks later.
But then Bernadotte, I remember this, on the Battle of Nations, the Battle of Leipzig, Bernadotte, he was supposed to get on time and support Blücher, but for some reason, he went into the battle very piecemeal, and he wasn't able to do that much of a major role in the battle. And in case you don't know, there were almost no Swedes in the army of the north. There were only like 7,000 because he didn't have a lot of time to mobilize the army, because he departed as soon as he could from Sweden to Germany.
He played a major role in the Great Allied...
No, it wasn't a major. I mean, in the end of the battle it was a major, but when Napoleon was almost breaking through the Austrian lines, he wasn't in the battle yet, so...
Victory at Leipzig. Bernadotte's legacy would prove the most lasting of any of Napoleon's marshals. The royal house of Bernadotte sits on the Swedish throne to this day.
Great-grandson.
Bernadotte was labelled a traitor by Napoleon's supporters, though not by Napoleon himself. He was unquestionably a gifted soldier and administrator, but his personality clash and long-running feud with the Emperor meant he was never a great marshal.
Oh, I was forgetting of Augereau. Augereau also, yeah, also, if I remembered of Augereau, he would be in this episode.
17. Marshal Augereau.
His courage, his outstanding virtues, elevated him far above the crowd, but honors, titles, and money plunged him back into it. Oh, he just wanted titles and money and honors.
Augereau had, by his own account, an eventful younger life, serving at various times with the French, Russian, and Prussian armies.
Sorry, guys.
Augereau had, by his own account, an eventful younger life, serving at various times with the French, Russian, and Prussian armies, deserting or being kicked out of all three in dubious.
Sorry, guys. Oh, this is interesting. I don't know anything about Augereau. Okay, I don't know anything. But this is so I will almost never interrupt this video. Sorry, guys. Let's watch.
An eventful younger life, serving at various times with the French, Russian, and Prussian armies, deserting or being kicked out of all three in dubious circumstances. He briefly earned a living in Dresden as a fencing master, with a feared reputation as a duelist. He embraced the French Revolution and joined a volunteer cavalry regiment known as the German Legion, before holding various staff and training roles where his experience in the regular Prussian army proved valuable. Promoted to general, Augereau served in the Eastern Pyrenees, where his flair for tactics and bold, decisive action helped win a series of victories over the Spanish. Later serving in Italy under Napoleon, Augereau proved a highly effective divisional commander. The future emperor's reports were glowing. Strong character, firmness, energy, has the habit of war, liked by his men, and lucky. In 1796, Augereau played a leading role in Napoleon's victories over the Austrians at Castiglione and Arcole. In fact, the painting of Augereau's heroism at Arcole...
Oh, in the battle, I didn't know this painting. I know a lot of painting from the Napoleonic era. I know Napoleon has a painting a bit later than he's like he was already dead when this painting was made, about him at the Battle of Arcole. I mean, there's the portraits of him in the Battle of Arcole, but then there's a bigger picture where he's with a banner, like in the middle of the bridge. But I didn't know Augereau was also in the Arcole Bridge. Apparently he was. I didn't know this.
Bridge long predates the more famous version by...
See, this is what I was telling you. There's the portrait of just Napoleon with the banner and the sword, and then there's, from Horace Vernet, exactly, then there is this other painting. Just see the differences. This is a more bright, this is a more dark, like here the banner is big, here the banner is ruined, the banner has suffered. It seems that the banner has suffered the battle just as the man have suffered. I think this guy over here, do you see this guy? Yeah. This guy is Augereau. This guy is Augereau, and I'm sure of it.
Vernet, in which Napoleon takes center stage, and is an even greater...
Yeah, but here Napoleon is the center stage. In here is Augereau.
Work of fiction. Arcole Bridge long predates the more famous version by Vernet, in which Napoleon takes center stage, and is an even greater work of fiction. Augereau's standing among fellow generals, however, was damaged by an enthusiasm for looting to rival General Brune, while others were irritated by his loud and boastful manner. Augereau was known to be a reliable Republican, and in 1797 Napoleon sent him to Paris to be the military muscle for the coup of 18 Fructidor. This was an army-backed purge of pro-royalist politicians threatening to restore the French monarchy. A brief spell in 18 Fructidor, This was an army-backed purge of pro-royalist politicians threatening to restore the French monarchy. A brief spell in charge of the Army of the Rhine demonstrated that Augereau was not suited for high command. As his
he was just suited for divisional command, but not high command. Apparently, he wasn't very good commanding the Army of the Rhine.
Unruly entourage and obsession with plunder caused chaos at headquarters. As a Republican, Augereau initially opposed Napoleon's seizure of political power, but soon sensed which way the wind was blowing and pledged support.
Oh, he knew who would take power. He knew Napoleon would take power.
Created a marshal in 1804, status, wealth, and declining health served to mellow Augereau's behavior. He commanded 7th Corps in the 1805 campaign, but was held in reserve and missed the great battles of Ulm and Austerlitz. The following year, he was in the thick of the fighting at Jena, leading 7th Corps against the Prussian southern flank. At Eylau in 1807, Augereau was so ill he had to be strapped to his horse, but led 7th...
Oh yeah, I remember this. He was strapped to his horse. Oh, and I think Augereau, in the middle of the snow, he led his division right into the front of a Russian battery, which just demolished his regiment. I think that's correct.
Augereau was so ill he had to be strapped to his horse, but led 7th Corps into battle in terrible winter conditions. Ordered to advance, his corps lost its way in a blizzard, was mown down by Russian guns, charged, and virtually destroyed. Augereau himself was hit and crushed under his own horse.
Oh, hit and crushed under his own horse. And he didn't die. He didn't die because he survived until 1816.
He returned to France to recover, but was never the same again.
Oh, he was only 46 in 1804, so 1807 he was 49, so when he died he was 58. Yeah, he was never the same. I mean, you got hit and smashed by your own horse and you were so ill. Yeah, I guess you'd never be the same, especially without the medical advancements that there are today. Yeah, that explains why he died so young. That explains.
His energy and zeal were gone. During Napoleon's war in Spain, he was sent to replace Saint-Cyr as commander of the Army of Catalonia. He completed the grim 7-month siege of Girona, but was soon replaced by MacDonald for his lackluster performance. In 1812, Augereau commanded depots and reinforcements in the rear, as the Grande Armée marched to its destruction in Russia. However, at Leipzig he was briefly back to his best, inspiring his small corps of conscripts to fight for several key villages in the south, in the face of relentless Austrian attack. In 1814, Napoleon gave Augereau command of the Army of the Rhone, but he surrendered Lyon without a fight.
He surrendered Lyon without a fight. Come on, you're betraying Napoleon. You could have defended Lyon. He gave you a whole army. Come on.
In 1814, Napoleon gave Augereau command of the Army of the Rhone, but he surrendered Lyon without a fight, and on news of Napoleon's abdication, denounced his former emperor as a man who, having sacrificed millions of victims to his cruel ambitions, has not known how to die like a soldier. When Napoleon returned from exile in 1815, Augereau proclaimed his loyalty once more.
Forget it. He's just an opportunist. He's just a calculus.
But the emperor was not interested.
Napoleon.
Augereau was stripped of his baton and died.
Oh, and he was stripped of his baton. Get lost, Augereau, get lost.
The next year.
He died the next year.
16.
Oh yeah, Lefebvre. I don't think I told you in the beginning, but I was thinking heavily about Lefebvre being in this part. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't told you because I didn't remember if Lefebvre was a marshal or a general. But I was thinking if he was a marshal, he would be here.
Marshal Lefebvre.
Guys, we will end this video by reading this phrase of Napoleon about Marshal Lefebvre, and we will do our next part. Yeah, it will be posted on another day. So yeah, I'll read it very quickly for you. A very quick no, but let's get done with this. A truly brave man who does not concern himself with maneuvers on his left and right, but thinks only of fighting well and is not afraid to die. Guys, before we end this video, remember, subscribe, like the video, comment down below your suggestions, share the video with your friends, and check the links in the description to amazing military and history books. Here on your top right corner you will see some other suggestions that I have for you, and on the end screen, and that's it.